Hi, welcome to my show. Today my guest is Lynn V. Andrews, who is my teacher, was my teacher, and I still learn quite a bit from her. I was in her mystery school for 4 years, and I'm still working with her today because the teachings that she passes on are just really incredible. Not enough people know about them, but I'm so happy to have you as my guest today, Lynn. How are you?
Well, thank you. Thank you, William. I'm fabulous. Thank you for having me.
Well, you've made such an impression in my life, and you've taught me so much. And the way we met is actually through a book. I have the book. This is the original, The Writing Spirit, I always talk about. It's all taped and everything because it's falling apart. I've read it and reread it so many times. And this is a book that when I read, and I was introduced to the subject of writing in a very different way that really touched me. So I called you, and from that one call, I was introduced to the mystery school, and I thought, what on earth is this mystery school? So why don't you tell us a little bit about this school that you started? When was it started, and where is it at right now today?
Well, the Mystery School is a school without walls, and I started it in 1993, believe it or not. It's a long time ago, isn't it?
Yes.
And there was a really good reason. I've written 21 books, so I have spent many years on the road doing book signings and so forth when a new book came out. And when I would go to different countries, different cities, I would work with people. And I realized pretty early on that people need these teachings so desperately that about 93% of the world comes out of abuse. And, you know, we look at the world and we think, my God, haven't we learned yet not to have war? And yet, if we keep the family situation that produces abuse, we're probably always going to have wars, if you see what I'm talking about.
Because
And,
most people work on the outside factors to prevent war or to create peace. But like in your school and through the teachings, we work from the inside out.
That's right. So I began to see very clearly I'm only one person. I can't work with everyone all the time. So I decided to do a school so that people could learn these extraordinary teachings on their own. They work with a mentor. I wrote the curriculum for 4 years. So as you go through the semesters, you receive a large curriculum notebook. And my mentors are graduates, fabulous people. They're graduates of the program. And all apprentices meet together twice a year. They meet with me at 2 different events. And we spend several days doing ceremony and so forth. But the main question that I have people ask themselves is, who are you? Who are you? And people are kind of stuck for an answer so often. So I began this school. And in the first year, we start with a beautiful waterfall in our mind's eye. And the waterfall symbolizes a source of power. It symbolizes the creative force of the universe, within which all shaman teachings emerge. How to be one with nature, how to understand the forces of nature, to work together and begin to see and sense energy within yourself and others.
And
to
Lynn,
understand
is that
how
what
this
shamanism
energy, what?
is that what shamanism is? Because a lot of people wonder what is shamanism, and sometimes they associate it with religion. But what you're describing right now, is that what shamanism is and its teachings?
It's about learning about shamanism. The first year of the shamanic school, you have to start with the foundation. You're going to build a building, you build a foundation first. So the intent for the first year is to heal aspects of the energy flow within yourself. You've got issues, whatever they are, they're knots of energy. And so when the energy moves through your system, it gets stopped in certain places. And so you need to learn how to heal that. That's the whole first year of the school. And shamanism, you asked me a question, what is shamanism? Well, it's like asking me, what is love? You can't explain what love is. Love is a union, a loving, an expansion. A shaman learns to choreograph the energies in the universe. And as we learn to choreograph energies, we also see that we have so many blocks that need to be seen and dealt with and frankly gotten rid of. So we do a lot of ceremony. We learn how to put power into objects that we use, like drums, rattles. The thing that is so interesting to me is there's such a resurgence of interest in shamanism because people are beginning to realize that this great Mother Earth is for help, and we are, in a sense, custodians. We want to be there for Mother Earth. How do we do that? So this whole school is about moving to a place of consciousness where war and destructive concepts literally don't exist within you anymore. So we try to understand how to bring form into the world. And when you realize that every single thing in the universe is made out of the same atoms, the same nucleus as every other form, whether it's a vase or your body or somebody else, we're all made out of the same thing. So
Yes.
when you say that we are actually really all one, we really are. We're all of the same energy. To first understand, however, that we need to feel worthy before we can empower ourselves and others.
And you've often said, yes,
to
you've
create a place that power is coming in to live within us. So to love and accept ourselves is enough to open our hearts to power. And when I say power, I'm talking about personal power, the empowerment of yourself to be able to follow your dream, whatever your dream is. And if you've come out of abuse, it's hard to describe your dream because you've been living somebody else's dream probably your whole life.
And is it so is the school 4 years because of the fact of what you said earlier, that the question, who am I, might sound simple, it's one question, but the process to that answer is there's so many layers of us that we need to heal and transform, so it takes a while for us to, it's investing in ourselves. Those 4 years are necessary from what I found. And because you've said many times that there's a war within us, and that is why there's war in this world.
Well, yes, because so many people have come out of abuse. And when you have come out of abuse, unconsciously, the feeling of abuse is love to you because it's all you know of love. Your parents are supposed to love you, and this is how they expressed it. So there's a certain feeling that comes with any action in the world that reminds you unconsciously of your childhood. You see?
And so, what is the benefit of the 4 years? Some people might think that's quite a bit of time, but is 4 years necessary to create that kind of transformation, that kind of healing and transformation?
Well, I think so, because you're working the whole first year, you're working with energy. How to see another person through different eyes. Maybe you're looking at yourself and other people in a very different way. And then, that's just, that's a very light definition of what the first year is about. Second year, you move into form. How do you define form? How do you protect it or make it sacred? And you realize that you have to find your own healing and your own self-worth.
And there's an important aspect to the school that I found very helpful, is that we don't have to be in a school, you call it a school without walls. And the importance of that is, in my case, I was raising 2 young children, and I couldn't really, it was important to me to be at home, but there was a lot of beneficial factors to that, including that once we graduated, having learned everything that we needed to do while we were in our homes, we can just continue those teachings in a familiar environment.
Yes, and you can use all of these teachings in any kind of healing work or any kind of business that you're in. If you're a lawyer on Wall Street and you go into the office and you yourself have come out of abuse, say, in your early life, you are trained early on how to enter a room and know if in some direction there might be trouble. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you were a child, you didn't want to be hit emotionally or physically. So you became kind of invisible the best you could.
Yeah, well, that's what I discovered when I contacted you initially. I was having a problem with my writing. I had already written several books, but I was having a hard time writing my next book, and I thought it was just writer's block. And, having a session with you, I realized that there was a lot of deeper things going on that I'd never really tapped into. And through the school and the healings and the wonderful mentors that mentored me, I was able to tap into what was the real blockage, was incidences that had happened from my childhood that I had just kind of, I come from a very oppressive land, so we weren't able to express ourselves, especially politically. And at that time, when I contacted you, I'm working on a political book. So I would have never put those two together, that given where I was raised over 30 years ago, I couldn't write a book that had some political aspects. So you helped tie those two together, and once I was able to confront that, all of a sudden, just my creative side was healed to the point where I was able to complete the book. It ended up winning an award. I ended up completing my other books that I worked on. So sometimes we underestimate the power of how we grew up, but really they leave a big impression on us.
You have a lot of background noise. I don't know if you're aware of it.
I don't hear any background noise. Were you able to hear me? Were you able to hear me, Lynn?
I'm able to hear you, but there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a microphone that needs to be muted on the set.
Okay. Okay. So are you hearing a lot of noise? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Well, now it's quiet.
Okay.
Anyway, I think this is a very important discussion. I don't think there, as far as I know, any school in the world quite like this. When I say school, what I'm saying is that you need to understand how to see yourself in a mirror. Who are you? Where, yes, I've had trouble with abuse in my early life or whatever. And, you begin to see your frailties as something exciting because it's something that you need to work on to become a more whole and awakened individual. Also, you learn how to live in a frequency where disease cannot exist. If you are ill in some way, you're in a frequency where that illness can exist. So, how do we heal that? We heal it by helping you. You heal it. I don't heal it. Nobody else heals it. You have to heal yourself. But through experiential ceremonies and things that we do and teachings that you begin to understand, you let go of so much that has kept you fenced in consciously or unconsciously. When you say, I believe in this something, you then put a fence around your consciousness. You can't go past that fence because of how you've brought belief structures into your life. So you need to look at those. Are they worthy of being in your life? Do they belong to somebody else? Where do they come from? Did you choose them? And so forth. So you have to know, okay, yes, this is who I am. And then you go out into the world with a great strength and a knowledge of your boundaries, for instance.
Well, Lynn, can you give a little bit background how you got introduced to these teachings, and about your book, Medicine Woman?
Oh my goodness. Yes, of course, you can read Medicine Woman and be a much better idea. Mm-hmm. That was the first book I wrote. And I had always been able to see lights around people. I could see their health, their state of pain, happiness, whatever it was. And I didn't realize at first that everybody didn't see that. And one morning, my best friend was Native American. She rode over on her pony, and I had my pony, and we went off to school together like we did every day. Except this particular day, she was filled with red. And I could see that she'd had a very hard morning. Her dad was a rather well-known alcoholic. And I could see that something terrible had happened that morning. So in your 7-year-old, 8-year-old way, I said, is there anything I can do to help? I see that you've had an issue, however you say that, at 6 and 7. And she was horrified that I could see her. She felt that she had been invaded. So, as a result of that, and because she was my best friend, I did not want to lose her. And I was at a difficult time in my life. My parents were separating. And so, at that moment, I decided not to share this sort of vision with anybody ever again. So I put who I was off to the side for many years and went through Catholic school. Though I'm not Catholic, I chose to go there because in a Catholic school you can pray. There's a chapel. And I wanted that relationship with Great Spirit. And it wasn't until, oh boy, kind of the first of my 20s that I began to realize that I needed to find out what this all meant. And I began looking for a teacher. And when you are seriously looking for a teacher, you find one. And if you find that person and you don't go with them, then you're really not looking. So I met many men, wonderful teachers, but for my issues, I wanted to work with a woman of power somewhere in the world. I didn't care. And Ruby Pointy Cheeks and Agnes Whistling Elk presented themselves to me in a most unusual way, which you have to read in Medicine Woman. And my journey with them began a long time ago. And we are part of a beautiful gathering of women of power. There are 44 of us from around the world. And it is the most exquisite gathering of elders that I have ever known. And most of them have to be very secret because of the cultures they come out of. They don't teach their culture. They have memorized the teachings that are in the 7 clay pots, which are the teachings of the Sisterhood of the Shields that have been placed on this earth many centuries and centuries ago.
Yeah,
So
people can pick up your experience. Your stories are all in your books. Most of the experiences that you've had with them are in the books.
Right. And you know, when I began this whole process of understanding who I am, I wanted to share that. I didn't tell anybody what I was doing. And then Agnes really was the one who said, you need to write about your work with us, which really threw me, because I thought she wanted me to be very secret about it, not tell anyone. If anybody asked me about what I was doing, I told them I was in Hawaii or I went down to Mexico or something. And finally, she wanted me to write about it. So Medicine Woman was that first book that I wrote about my work. And I wrote it in a way that is a story, many stories. Each chapter is a teaching, really, but I teach you through my experience, the same way I learned it. I tried to translate that for you. And so they're not how-to books. They are in an abstract way, because you move along on this experience with me.
And Lynn, if people, aside from reading your books, if they want to participate or learn a little bit about your teachings and are not sure if they want to go into the school, what advice would you give them? I know that you have the Joshua Tree is available to everyone every year that people can participate. Which ways can they participate in your work and the teachings on a maybe shorter scale for now?
Yeah, I mean, Joshua Tree, we're giving this year in the end of July up in the mountains of Prescott, Arizona. It's easy to get to, and we stay in, it's not a resort, it's a place, and you stay and you get 3 meals a day, and a place, a cabin or an apartment where you stay. And we all stay there and we do ceremony together, and we meet in the morning, and we have a band, a beautiful band, who the musicians have been with me for 27 years.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And it adds a great, vivid kind of excitement and energy to the event. And it's open, and I invite you always to come. And people come year after year, because each Joshua Tree is different. we end up making something beautiful so that we understand how to put our beautiful prayers into form. And we learn about how important we all are and how important prayer of any kind, prayer in the world, good ceremony, that you understand your frailties and you understand your empowerment and you give that to the world the best way you know how. And I am going to have to leave you at this point.
Okay. Well, thank you, Lynn. Well, the interview is over, but I just want to say thank you for helping so many people. And you've had apprentices from all over the world. I know from China during the year that I graduated, from Germany, from Spain. So even people who don't speak English have benefited from these teachings. So thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. And thank you for having me on, Liam.
Okay. Have a wonderful day.
I'll see you at Joshua Tree.
Yes.
Or in the writing school.
Yes, yes. We'll see each other.
Okay. Much
Goodbye.
love to you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you for watching.